Well, well, the great and glorious Green Lantern. Would you run out of alien menaces to beat on? You got a hornet on my turf?
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site with plot synopsis and character bios for this story. So, I've been covering Neal Adams and Denny O'Neil's run on Batman. I do have a playlist for that. But before or during that exact same time, they were also doing some work with Green Lantern, co-starring Green Arrow. This is technically Green Lantern, but Green Arrow sort of. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how exactly these two work because Green Arrow is a street level guy, and Hal Jordan, of course, is a cosmic guy. I haven't read these in forever. It has been, my goodness, I must have been in maybe, not even high school, but probably elementary school, middle school. The last time I looked at this, and they used to sell these little digest. They were small, like little trade paperbacks, but small, and they'd have them in grocery stores or and you just pick one up, and it was like $3, $5 at the most, which for back then was pretty expensive, a $5 book, but it had like a bunches of stories and reprinted a bunches of stuff. So I would almost say it was like $2. So, that's how I discovered a lot of these. I don't even have those uh, little booklets anymore. I do have a reprint of some of these, but honestly, I think I bought them. My daughter works at a used bookstore, and I'm pretty sure that there's so much stuff that I get there, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll get to it, but I never do. So we're gonna do it digitally here. So, all right. So we get this great cover here, and Hal Jordan's saying his oath here, and he says, "In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight." And of course, Green Arrow throws the arrow at it, and he says, "Never again." So, destroying the battery. If the power battery can be destroyed by an arrow, it's probably not very good. So, very striking cover. Denny O'Neil is an incredibly good writer. I credit Dennis O'Neil for making Batman and comic books overall grow from the campiness that was the 60s into a more mature, more sophisticated, more Marvel-ish. Because Stan Lee sort of tried it, but if you read the early 60s stuff, it wasn't exactly always, it was still a little campy, but it became more mature as time rolled on. And I think Denny O'Neil is partly responsible for that. And Neal Adams, of course, is absolutely incredible. So, all right, for years he has been a proud man. He has worn the power ring of the Guardians and used it well, and never doubted the righteousness of his cause. In the next dozen seconds, an event will occur which will signal the end of his grandeur and the beginning of a long torment. So you can see here Hal Jordan flying through whatever city that is. And here we have you see here, art Neal Adams, Denny O'Neil with the script, and Julie Schwartz is the editor. Julie Schwartz was probably DC's number one editor. He was more like probably an editor-in-chief for DC Comics in the 60s and 70s. There will be no happy ending, for this is not a happy tale, nor a simple one, but what you are about to witness is perhaps inevitable. His name, of course, is Green Lantern. And so again, we see this amazing figure here. So, and often he has vowed that no evil shall escape my sight. He has been fooling himself. Another thing about this is I love how the page is turned around. Goodness. This is 1970, my friends. It's beautiful. So, it begins with a mission of charity in the sky above Star City. And so, Green Lantern, we got a thought balloon here. I haven't heard much from Green Arrow lately, and the last time I saw him, he was bugged. About what, I don't know. But as long as I'm in the area anyway, I might as well look him up. And so, he sees these two kind of here. Uh-oh, trouble below, a punk attacking that man. We don't like your kind around here, fatso, he says, as these two kind of look. And he pushes the big guy down. Get me? You come footing around here, you're gonna get leaned on. And this other guy's like, give it to him, Mike. Yeah, man, off panel. And so Green Lantern's coming down. And the onlookers are encouraging him. No respect for law and order. None. And so here he picks up the guy with his power ring here. And he thinks here, I'll give him and his cheering section a well-needed lesson. He's like, hey, teach them a little respect here. So, let me down, he says. Not yet, Sonny. Not till I'm certain you'll remember this. And he kind of puts him like a top. I don't know. Do people know what a top is nowadays? And so, kind of puts him in a cell here that he creates with bars. When you get out of this, when you get out, that is, because the next stop is police headquarters. I'll be there in a few minutes to prefer charges. I think maybe press charges. I've never heard prefer charges. So, man, Neal Adams' art, so beautiful. And Green Lantern says, you all right, fella? Just fine, Lantern. Thank you. Thanks to you. But another second, that kid might have hurt me. You're my kind of guy, Green Lantern. More guys like you. This old world would be a better place. So, another guy says, hey, superhero. And Hal Jordan turns around. There's no need to thank me, people. I was just doing my duty, he says. And he has somebody throw a can at him. I love the facial expression here. And so, from every window, from each rooftop, comes a hail of garbage, bottles, and tin cans. And so you can see with his ring, he makes an umbrella here. You can see all the debris kind of falling. My ring will protect us, and they better have protection too, because I've had it. They're acting like animals, says Green Lantern. You want to riot, mister? Okay, that's what I'll give you. You know, for a superhero, he's got a quick temper, so... And so, off panel here, you see, touch him first, Green Lantern, and you'll have to touch me second. And so, we have Green Arrow here. And I'll touch back, believe it, chum. Back off. Go chase a mad scientist or something. And he says, Green Arrow, you're defending these anarchists? Now, keep in mind real quick. All right, so, I'm going to get just a touch political. Not too much, just a little bit. Green Arrow has always, from most of the time, particularly during this run, been portrayed as a liberal. So what we're seeing here is Green Lantern, because he's kind of a space cop, law and order type thing, more right-wing. So we're seeing now two ideologies kind of about to collide with Denny O'Neil. Now, Denny O'Neil is a left-winger, and so is Neal Adams. So it does get a little bit more left wing. So if any of you are right wing, it's okay. You know, let's just enjoy the story for what it is. But this is a bit, so just so you know, this is what we're getting. You know, we're getting left from Green Arrow and right from Green Lantern. So, all right. And so Green Lantern continues. Can't you see they're breaking the law? And Green Arrow jumps down. He says, "Yeah, I can see lots of things like that. You've no business here. I was almost tempted to throw a can at you myself." And he's saying, "You're not making sense, Green Arrow. No? Come on, I'll give you a guided tour and look at how the other half lives, if you can call it living." So, here we go. This lady here is the grandmother of the kid you sent to headquarters. She's 80, and he's her only means of support. Mike had to drop out of school and get a crummy job because she has no one else. That's tough, but blast it, he was breaking the law, he says. Technically, he was, sure. He lost his temper and roughed up the fat cat landlord who owns this dump, the creep who hasn't spent a cent for repairs in years. Now he figures he can make more money using the property as a parking lot, so he's going to evict the tenants. You can see here the people. He does make a point, a very good and valid point. So, we still struggle with this. So this is 1970, folks. And in 2024, when I'm reading this to you guys, we're still going through the same thing. At what point do we say, yes, making money is, you have the right to make money. But at the same token, is money really everything? It's very important. Real quick, so Neal Adams is inking himself. I like this. I really do. He's just like, choo, 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 choo. I love ink slingers. So, all right, Green Arrow continues. Kick a lot of old folks out on the street. Lord knows this building is bad, but they don't have anything else, he continues. Like what you've seen. Listen, I hope you enjoyed playing superhero out there. I sure hope it did a lot of good for your ego. And Green Lantern says, "Easy, you've no cause to yell at me. I have a job to do." And Green Arrow says, "Seems I've heard that line before at the Nazi war trials." So, that's a little bit extreme. I know Denny O'Neil is trying to make a point. It is extreme, just because, but that's all right. And that it's kind of funny that happens, because now anytime a right-winger says something, the Nazi thing gets thrown all the time. It is extreme, but I digress. This is, for all intents and purposes, a very politically charged issue, if not series. I do remember a lot being done about this issue, which I read. Like I said, I read this when I was in probably elementary schools, middle school. And so life, it just does not change, man. People are people no matter what. We continue as a civilization. Technology helps, man, but we are still the same assholes we have been since we learned how to crawl. So someone says here, off panel here, "I want to ask the ring slinger a question, Mr. Green Arrow." And so this gentleman comes to him and says, "I've been reading about you, how you work for the Blueskins and how on a planet someplace you helped out the Orange Skins. And you done considerable for the Purple Skins. Only there's skins you never bothered with," he says. So I'm just kind of moving so that you can see the entire panel here. And so the gentleman continues here and says, "The Blackskins, I want to know, how come? Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern." And he looks down in shame and says, "I can't." So, as Green Arrow kind of looks on. And so this here would have been where there would have been an ad, so it would have been like half page. So instead of giving a full page, it would have been like a half page of ads. And so, here and real quick, so this is most likely some screen tones being used there. And so we continue here. In the time it takes to draw a single breath, the span of a heartbeat, a man looks into his own soul and his life changes. And so Green Lantern says, okay, I have been a dummy, so tell me, how do I help? And the gentleman says, I'm no advice committee. If you want to bad enough, you'll find a way. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and says, and you know, I think you do want to. And so Green Arrow says, for openers, you might try to keep folks from getting kicked into the streets. I can talk to the landlord, he says. You sure can, and lots of luck with it, pal. So, then in the privacy of Hal Jordan's hotel room, the Emerald Crusader performs a familiar ritual touching the glowing ring gem to enlant. Oh my goodness. Let me start over. Touching the glowing ring gem to a lantern, infusing it with energy. Of course, he does his motto here, and he thinks, how often have I made that vow? Until today I believed what I was saying. But evil was all around me, disguised as familiar everyday persons and places. I've lived this long without learning that bad doesn't have to be a bug-eyed monster or a mad scientist. Nor is it always hidden. That penthouse is pretty visible, and if Green Arrow is right, it houses corruption. So, here we go. I love, again, showing motion. He's not flying in straight. Look at him, just making a turn. Just, how awesome is that? So Green Lantern goes through the door, through the wall. And he says, Jubal Slade, why, yes. And what do I owe the pleasure, Green Lantern? For a long hour, the Emerald Crusader argues, insists, and finally pleads. To no avail. Ha! I mean, you really break me up, Lantern. You and your bleeding heart. Yeah, you know, it's just funny. The same, we say the same things nowadays, man. I keep saying people don't change. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, I got the law on my side. I can do anything I want with that property. You expect me to pass a fat profit because a lot of worthless old geeks are gonna get rained on? And so these two guys come through. Okay, number one, he just saw him come through a wall. Yeah, they're gonna. Boys, escort the Crusader out. He's like, don't touch me. Why not, Tuffy? You afraid you'll bruise? He says. And so, I warned you, keep your slimy hands off. And he punches this guy, and then he falls, and then punches the other guy. Man, Neal Adams is so good at drawing. Oh my gosh. And Marvel had him on X-Men, and they let him go. They canceled the series because they couldn't. X-Men wasn't doing good when they put him in there, and then it wasn't until after he had left that they realized that the numbers had improved, and by then he had already left for DC. So what a mistake. So, and Green Lantern grabs him. He says, "Your turn, you filthy heap of." "You better not. I'm a powerful man in this town," he says. "Tell me more. Scare me," he says. So, and you see that one of the Guardians appears. I don't think they can do that now, but they sure did back then. And he says, "Green Lantern of Earth, desist. This human has committed no crime. Report to Oa immediately." So, you're lucky, Slade, but there'll be another time, I promise. I'm counting on it, Green Lantern. You, me, and my lawyers. So here's the funny thing is, like, how do you sue a superhero? And so Green Lantern's gonna go to Oa. Which is, so I wonder, did they ever establish that the ring is kind of like a Stargate where he can just, because Oa is in the middle of not the galaxy, of the entire universe. So I am quite sure that It takes a while to get there. So you have behaved inexcusably. We have monitored your activities and we have observed your emotional attack on your brother Earthlink. And he goes, that filth is no brother of mine. So suddenly, right wing Green Lantern becomes left wing Green Lantern. There is a funny, was it Justice League? Um, and I think Jeff Johns was writing it. And Hawkman, who is sort of like Green Lantern here, more Law and Order, right wing type thing, is arguing with Green Arrow, and they start hurling insults at each other, and Green Arrow goes to Hawkman and says, "You Republican," and Hawkman's like, "What is that?" So, um. So, anyway, maybe it's just funny to me. But anyway, the Guardians say, silence. We are prepared to overlook your insubordination once. We shall say no more. You are warned. Now, attend us. There is a task you need to perform. I am not too... I don't read too much Silver Age stuff. Or, I've read a lot of DC after Crisis. I did not read a lot of DC before Crisis. I am familiar with a lot of their, like I said, a lot of reprints and a lot of a few stories here and there, but most of the stuff that I know of is after Crisis. Crisis was the event. I was 12 years old, I believe, when Crisis on Infinite Earths came out. So it was prime collecting time during that time. So I'm familiar with everything after Crisis. I am not familiar with a lot of stuff before Crisis. So when I see the Guardians kind of behaving like this, it's kind of funny because they don't behave like this. Particularly when Jeff Johns had his run on Green Lantern, which is magnificent, and it may take me a while, but I swear to God I will get to it. So the Guardian says, a swarm of meteors will collide with Titan, one of the satellites of Saturn, in your solar system. You're to divert it and stay on station until we have recalled you. What? That is so... What? There's nobody in Titan. At least in Marvel there was. That's where Thanos was. But I don't think that in DC there is. But maybe. And Green Lantern says, all right, and I'm sorry. We have no use for apologies. Dismiss, they say. And so, once again, the ring folds back the universe. And so it is like a Stargate. There's the meteor shower, still a good 1,000 miles from Titan. I won't even work up a sweat diverting it. It once over lightly with a power beam, and the job is done. So he's hurling them from this way to that way. And it wasn't worth doing. Saturn's moons are so much rock uninhabited. The Guardian sent me on a useless mission. Why? Now I've got to stay here, floating in space like a hunk of jet Sam. It doesn't make sense, or does it? So, great image. God, Neal Adams was so good. Rest in peace. Also, Denny O'Neil. Everyone involved with this issue is no longer with us. So, all right, he continues. Sure, they sent me here to cool off, and we have here. You have behaved inexcusably. And so he thinks, I've always had total faith in their wisdom, and yet you work for the Blueskins. You never bothered with the Blackskins. So he's remembering here. Nuts, I've had the Blueskins high and mighty order giving. I'm going where I'm needed. So at that moment in Jubal Slade's luxurious quarters, well, another greenie. You're going to make me with a sob story too, he says. Yeah, I'm going to make you cry your cruddy little heart out. You make a lot of bread, and I want some. and he says, "You want money?" I love the screen tones here. "I knew you couldn't be as dumb as you look. The figure is 25,000 Slade dollars. Put me on, huh? I mean, what you got to sell? Safety, the health of your errand boys." And he snaps his quiver and he aims it, and you can see here he hits the guy but doesn't hit him, just close here. "Well, you see my point. If not, I have another dozen other points. I mean, alrighty, only I ain't got that much cash. Uh Tell you what, let's meet someplace, say at midnight." And he says, "Fine. Fine with me. I'll be at 909 Gramercy Street. It's an abandoned store. See you there." And you can, oh man, look at, it's almost looks like, I mean, I've seen other artists do this, so I'm pretty sure it's a style of screen tones, but it almost looks like some charcoal, perhaps. But, and this guy thinks he must have some evidence of some of my underworld activities, or he wouldn't have pulled that grandstand play. I'll call the boys. And Green Arrow says, "Slade took the bait. Now I can only hope he runs true to form. Once a thug, always a thug," he says. And so, as Star City sleeps on the dark side of the street, so here we have a gun, the guy's walking, a cat tapping the door. Open the door. "Green Arrow, is that you?" And he says, "We're Slade. He sent us. We got something for you." And they shoot and hit this figure here. And he says, "Don't bother checking him. We put 9 slugs into a dummy," says the guy here. First of all, this scene looks great. My goodness gracious. And so from behind, he grabs him with the quiver and tosses him. The guy aims the gun, but the arrow fits perfectly in there. God, these Hawkeye and Bullseye and Green Arrow. I mean, it is so. It's funny. You know, it's easier for me to believe someone like Superman and the Hulk can do what they do, but every time I see like this pinpoint accuracy, I'm like, no. But it's funny. I don't bat an eye when Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk or Superman flies or whatever. So, all right. So Green Arrow then hits this guy here. Tell him he's gonna go to prison. So, he says, "Now to collect the evidence, the tape recorder of our little talk about Slade." And he says, "Oh no, one of the bullets hit the tape. It's ruined. Why the devil couldn't they shoot straight?" he says. "I'm back where I started, with a couple of little fish netted, while the big boss shark goes his way." And so this is another half panel, so it would have been an ad here. So the next morning here, "That's it, GL. I should have known Slade wouldn't come himself, and I shouldn't have counted on that take gimmick." And Green Lantern says, "So Slade's still free, and the people in the building are about to be evicted." And Green Arrow says, "You appealed to Slade's humanity. I tried. His greed and we both failed. Some heroes we are, huh? If only there was a way to connect the gunmen with their boss." And Green Lantern says, "Wait a second. The Hoods haven't been in touch with Slade." "No, he isn't exactly famous for his loyalty to his employee. He doesn't know they've been caught, and we have a chance." So, citizens of Star City, raise your eyes. Look up from the pavement into the blue of a noon sky. Observe 2 gentlemen on their way to work. This will be a sight to tell your grandchildren about, citizens of Star City, won't it? So, it's a pity, citizens, that you can't be at Jubal Slade's penthouse exactly 10 minutes later. And so, "You idiot, I told you never to come here. Why didn't you phone like I told you?" "We got hassled by the fuzz, boss. We had to stay out of sight." "You mean, did you hit him? Who, boss?" "Green Arrow, did you finish him?" "I don't understand. Finish? I paid you to kill him, remember?" Oh, you did interesting, and it was Green Lantern using his, I don't know, ring to create that camouflage. Green Lantern, I mean, you figure you're pretty blasted clever. Well, you can't prove a thing, he says. Green Lantern won't have to prove anything. That's my job. Jeremy Tyne, the district attorney. Need I add that you're under arrest? And so he says, back off, Tyne. There's more than a paperweight. It's live. It's a grenade here. I'm going, and anyone tries to stop me is going to get blown to scrap. I'll die before I lose my freedom, he says. You impressed, GL? Not especially. Still, the windbag may not be bluffing. I might as well take care of him. No trouble, he says. And he uses his ring to flick the grenade out and explode outside. Why? Oh my god. The 70s. Awesome. But hey, the more awesome the more outrageous, the more we love it. So and they put him in a mousetrap here. I couldn't pin anything on him until now. Green Arrow, Green Lantern. On behalf of Star City, I thank you. Our pleasure, Mr. Tyne. So, sorry, it was here and then here. So, all right. So, that is my bad. So I should have known. So off he goes under arrest with that. So we get to the epilogue here. Green Lantern of Earth, heed me, heed my anger. You have been insubordinate. You disobeyed our orders. We commanded you to remain on station until we decreed your task completed. I'm sorry. That's right, Lantern. Apologize. Grovel in front of that walking mummy, he says. Green Arrow. Too many greens, I'm telling you. You call yourself a hero, chum? You don't even qualify as a man. You're no more than a puppet, and the Guardians pull your strings. Listen, forget about chasing around the galaxy and remember America. It's a good country, beautiful, fertile, and terribly sick. There are children dying, honest people cowering in fear, disillusioned kids ripping up campuses. It's still that way in 2024. So, on the streets of Memphis, a good black man died. In Los Angeles, a good white man fell. Something is wrong. Something is killing us all. Some hideous moral cancer is rotting our very souls. So we got Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy. So, and you sitting on your mud ball, pretending like preening like a smug tomcat. How dare you presume to meddle in the affairs of humanity when human beings are no more than statistics to you and your crew? How would you advise us? He says. That's easy. Come off your perch, touch, taste, laugh, and cry. Learn where we're at and why. I feel there is wisdom in your words. And so, there is wisdom. For a week, the galactic immortals argue and debate. Finally, one of their members is chosen to leave Oa. Disguised as an Earth mortal, he appears in Hal Jordan's hotel room. Green Lantern of Earth, I have a proposition for you. And so, was he playing with toys? Then, on a clear, chilly, bright day with the promising of spring, it seems a bit silly to travel in this old heap, Oliver Queen. I could switch to Green Lantern and fly us. He says, pal, we're going to play it strictly human, remember? There's a fine country out there, someplace. Let's go find it. And so, off they go to have their adventure. The three set out together, moving through cities and villages and the majesty of the wilderness, searching for a special kind of truth, searching for themselves. So, Green Lantern number 76 from 1970, featuring Green Arrow. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.